Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. We're going to talk today about oil, food, a lot of things. I want to bring you back to August when I started covering the fact that Russia started signing amazing historic deals in trade for, trade of goods and services with Russia for military protection, military hardware, and so on and so forth. The first deal was signed with Saudi Arabia. As a matter of fact, it was so amazing because it came within the week, on the 50th anniversary of when the United States inked the historic deal between the US and Saudi Arabia for military protection in trade for the fact that they would only sell oil in US dollars. Since then, the United States has been able to export their inflation worldwide because it forced countries, if they needed money from Saudi Arabia, and then which turned into OPEC nations, they needed to go buy dollars. So they would go to the US, buy the dollars, and then they would spend the dollars on oil. Okay, that is now changing rapidly. When that agreement was broke between the United States and Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia inked a deal with Russia, I want people to understand where we're going right now. It's very important. Most people were flabbergasted. They were shocked. It changed the petrodollar forever, right? We just saw Jerome Powell come out and in front of Congress very slightly, just really quietly said, I do see a day where the US is not the only reserve currency. I'm paraphrasing, but you get my point. Well, on that same day, Putin and his generals were signing two agreements. The other one was with Nigeria. And I want to talk about that because they're going through a currency crisis, but I do not think everything is what you see in the news. So we're going to share a screen and we're going to talk about this. All right, here we go. Now, guys, I've got three different articles to go over, but we're going to go back real quick. And this is the story that I was talking about. Sorry for all the ads. I didn't even think about this. I ran through other stuff, but this is going back to what I was talking about. August 26th of 2021, Nigeria signs military cooperation agreement with Russia. All right. Now, to give you an idea of how big of a deal this is, because a lot of people wouldn't take Nigeria seriously. Okay. But I have a feeling as their economy is collapsing right now, and we're going to talk about that and where I believe food's going and all this kind of stuff, you're going to see this is a big deal. First off, Nigerian oil, their oil reserves are globally ranked the 10th in the world, 10th largest in the world. Their oil production is the 15th largest. Now, many people wouldn't think that's a big deal, but I need you to remember, as Russia continues to ink these deals with even some large companies and some small companies, I want you to realize how big of a deal it is, because as they slowly make these agreements, these countries are going to line up with Russia. Why? Because Russia is protecting them. They're giving them goods. All right. And right now, the entire world is watching what Russia is doing. And if you notice, China has been very, off to the side, not making any, accusations. And that tells us something. All right. As they're sitting back and not condemning them, that means that they are, if you're not for us, you're against us. Well, it's the other thing is if you're not against us, you're for us. I want people to realize that. Okay. Their oil consumption is extremely small. Their oil production, 15th largest in the world. Their oil consumption is the 37th. So they've got a ton of oil to export, right? And that could be going through their currency. Now, here we go with the story. Nigerian companies may have to pay dollar debts in Naira due to Forex shortage. If I mispronounce that word, that's only because I can't spell, guys. All right, now this is hot off the presses from yesterday. So we're going to go through just the bullet points. Amid a dollar shortage in Nigeria, the FIRS has given companies a 1-month window to pay their dollar tax debts in Naira. Business Insider Africa understands that the concession would end by March 31st, 2022. Nigeria typically requires companies to pay taxes for all foreign transactions in the currency that the transactions were carried out. I'm going to tell you, I honestly believe, now, first off, a lot of people on the face would say, okay, they're having a Forex crash. Maybe their economy is really shaky. There's all kinds of stuff. I have a feeling what you are seeing is Nigeria going off the dollar standard, and they are using this avenue. You know what? We're tight. Let's move into our own currency. And of course, that would bolster strength for their currency, right? It would cause a demand for their currency. And that's how it would go in the past. But I have a feeling as the world is going through de-dollarization, what you are witnessing is you're going to see all of these stories that seem like, okay, there's a FOREX shortage. They're going through some kind of crisis, and it's a crisis that is their fault, right? It's not the dollar's fault. It's their fault. They must have done something wrong. But what I have a feeling is that Nigeria is lining up with Russia. Now, guys, none of this is trading advice, financial advice, just to do with a bro hawk and a dream. But what you're seeing right now is Nigerian government lining up more along with the agreements they made with Russia and other countries. And so it would be very easy for them. This is just a theory, guys, just my thesis or my theory. If they say there's a shortage, then let's move into our own currency. And quite possibly, we may see them saying, you know what, we may trade in rubles. We may trade in any of the SDR currencies. Remember, too, the BRICS nations, when they formed in the early 2000s, the early teens, right? They had agreements that they were working on around the world. And there's backroom agreements that are going on right now, excluding the dollar, excluding the US. And I want people to understand this. This is really, really happening. Now, give an example, they're going to bolster their economy, their currency by now saying, hey, you've got to pay these debts in Naira. If these companies are now paying their debts in the Nigerian currency and their currency starts to lose value, the companies that are being forced to be paid in this are simply going to stop doing business with companies in Nigeria, which could exacerbate the problem. Correct? Right? I'm just talking to you guys. If that happens, we could see an economy fail. Now, I want people to understand, a lot of people would discard some of these African nations or South American nations and go, these are third world countries, who cares? What I want you to see is, first off, these are human beings, all right? And there's going to be a lot of people in pain as this gets worse and worse. But my point is, as they need help, they're going to reach out to certain countries for help. And what we've seen with these deals, like the one with Russia, you're going to see more and more of these deals being made, and countries like China and Russia there to help. We saw this with China moving into South American countries where they said, look, we're here to give you money. We're just here to help you out, build up infrastructure, right? Because once they become your lender or give you money to use, and they lend you money, you now become a slave to them. The borrower is always slave to the lender. All right. And that's why we at Ninja Nation want to become the lenders. I want all of you to go from being a debtor to a lender. Well, how do we get there? We start to recognize what's going on in the world. And it sounds crazy. I don't care if you're driving your car right now, if you're at work with earbuds on, you're working around your house. I want you to realize that every single one of you has so much that they can do, only so much, right? Where you might think the cup is half empty, I see it as half full. When we combine our efforts and we get out of debt and we become lenders, we have the power together, a collective group of human beings all over the world, ready to go out and crush it. And not just for us, but for our fellow man. Because I know that, honestly, if you're watching this channel with me here, we're going to click off this thing. You guys have a much bigger vision and understanding of the world. And I get it. This world right now is all run by these machines. It is. And if it's not these today, tomorrow it's going to be battery cells, right? But the facts are, if we get out of debt, we can be strong together and absolutely change this world. Guys, the Nigerian situation, I don't believe is going to get any better. Between their currency, their Forex issues right now, I believe there's a lot of countries trying to de-dollarize themselves, and they're trying to position themselves in other currencies. They're going to make up a basket of currencies. It's more than likely going to be the SDR. However, only time will tell. And that's a basket of currencies. Even Jerome Powell, like I said, has said, I can see the US dollar not being the only reserve currency, that there will be other currencies. He's given you the head nod, the tilt. It's going to happen. It's happening right now. And I want people to be ready for this. Why? Because there are a lot of dollars floating all over the world that pretty soon they're not going to be needed, and they're going to come home to roost. As the US, and you might be in another country and go, yeah, the US has screwed a lot of things up. The Fed's messed it up. let it happen. But I want you to understand, just as I take Nigeria, a smaller country, as serious as Europe, China, and Russia, it's a global economy. And like Lehman Brothers, as it closed its doors, sent an earthquake, a shockwave through the world's financial system and put the entire earth into a Great Recession. The US, as this happens and causes hyperinflation, as all these dollars come back to roost, will cause a shockwave throughout the world's global economy and affect everyone. So let's start thinking globally, guys, and not as a globalist. Let's start thinking as us, human beings that have a little bit. Let's take back what was stolen from us, guys. It's time to be prepared and not scared. With that being said, the Economic Ninja is out.